right now we have to take it from this computer and put it on the graphics computer. So we were working forever just to keep it, so we could keep it on this one computer and punch through. And right now it's not working. So that I bet if we did that, it would.
Okay, let's look at that behind the scenes. But you can understand how if it's a rainy day outside and the weather video shows that, and suddenly it's bright and sunny, that it's a little bit confusing. And also on the weather graphics, and you're not the only one to do this, Dave Sable, but when you're doing that one where you have the 3 bullet points, okay, you've got to be shorter, because what ends up happening if Dave is the weather anchor, he's standing in front of half the script. Okay, so they have to be. You have to adjust for yourself in that thing. Okay, who are my Boy Scouts in the room? Who are my Boy Scouts?
Yeah,
okay.
Boy Scouts.
All right. Yeah. What is the proper way to pass a knife from one person to another?
Depends if you like them or not.
We'll assume that. Listen to Dave. We'll assume that we like each other.
The blade points towards me, and I hand it towards you with the handle.
And how do you know that I'm ready to take it?
When you've actually said, thank you, I got it.
Okay, and I said, thank you, I've got it. You have to think about that when you're tossing from place to place. To just say, you know, so-and-so's here, and just have so-and-so standing there and talk is jarring, okay? You know, so when you toss it from here, receive the toss. Thank you, Erica, da-da-da-da-da. And when you're done, Erica, thank you.
Well, that's right, Erica. Bronco Mendenhall did talk.
Yeah, okay. So make that make that flow happen. That is the proper way to pass off a knife and the proper way to toss back and forth to each other. Acknowledge the person who is passing it to you, and that is how we know that you're ready and you're ready to move on. Okay? So, Erica, thank you, Chad, and then we move on. Okay? It feels more like a flow. Now, if it's very robotic, it's going to feel obnoxious. But you know, just as part of the flow, it will really help if you're able to pass that off. Exactly. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, and then the last thing, just real quick, is we talked about this on another day, and probably you folks didn't hear this here, but when you're, this was on our kicker, when you are giving a location of a place, use the postal abbreviation for state. Don't spell out Florida. Don't spell out Connecticut, whatever the case is. CT is fine. FL is fine. You have to be really careful with the M states, because there's Minnesota, Mississippi, Michigan, da-da-da. Be careful with the Alabama, Arkansas, Alaskas, and that sort of thing. Make sure you have the right one. But just use the postal abbreviations. We'll make that our style.
When you super it, not
when
like
you super it. Not in scripts. I'm talking about when you super it. It's in fact, in scripts, do you know why it's important to write it out? Why is it important to write it out in scripts?
Because you may never know.
Well, because AK leaves, first of all, AK leaves them trying to remember, is that Arkansas or Alaska? I can't remember. And second, the computer is judging time based on characters. So if you abbreviate in a script, it's going to think that a 21-second script is really only 19 seconds because you've abbreviated Connecticut 3 times. See what I mean? So it's just for a producer's sake to make sure the show is timing properly. Always spell it out in there. Okay? Yes, sir?
I had a question. I was wondering on the sports, we cut the U.S. Open. Why was it that we didn't cut the NFL since we had just teased the U.S. Open?
Because I asked him what story he wanted to cut, and he said U.S. Open, and I forgot that I teased it twice. So that was my
I didn't know the tease like that. So.
Right.
Great
that
point.
was my mistake.
Great point.
That's a huge point, and it's just something that all of you, because you're all going to sit in the producer's seat while you're here, is to be aware of. You have to remember when you tease a story that you're basically saying, I can't kill this story now. Okay? So, you know, a lot of shops will tell you tease really deep. Go ahead and tease the kicker way early. Well, then you better make sure you're going to air that kicker. If you've been telling people about Cardboard Thomas for 20 minutes, and then all of a sudden you don't have time for Cardboard Thomas, they're going to be confused and upset.
There's a saying: tease what you can deliver, and deliver what you tease.
Right. So I mean that's a very good point. And as a sports anchor, as a weather anchor, as a whatever, as a producer, you should go into your show thinking, if suddenly I have to get rid of a minute here, what's the first thing I abandon? And then you write your teases appropriately so that if you do have to suddenly dump a particular piece, that you haven't teased it already. Okay, it's just it's one of those think ahead sort of things that you develop while you're in this class. Does anybody else have anything that they wanted to add?
Do we know why the weathers were still completely wrong after we...
We're missing the Wasatch front graph. Did you say it was missing? Yeah, it's not the template.
Were every single slide wrong, or was it just that one No, every
One?
single one was
Everyone.
wrong.
It was yesterday's
still?
stuff, and Wasatch was missing completely. Right?
Yeah. So we've got a graphics problem that we need to figure out.
And graphics wise, if you can just have like your little OTS into me by 10 o'clock, that makes my life a lot easier than the last like half an hour where I'm trying to pull everyone's stuff in.
Yeah, deadlines are there for a reason, folks. Okay?
Chad,
Yeah.
I was wondering, there's the one story where Erica was reading it, but the camera came up on me.
It was a mistake in the.
Is that, I mean, in that situation?
I don't know.
It was an
should
OTS problem.
Should I
Well,
start
it was an
reading?
OTS problem, and again, like I said beforehand, it was that somebody had put an OTS for Erica on the wrong side. No, it was an OTS for you that had been put on the wrong side, and then again, the executive producer tried to go in and change that, and changed the previous one, and so put Erica's OTS on the wrong side, so then both OTSs were on the wrong side.
But he did the right thing, right? Because I mean, you don't go until you're cued. Because if she's speaking, I mean, otherwise both of you are speaking at the same time, and we don't know who to go to.
That's what I was wondering, if
Yeah.
the camera's on me.
You just
she's
do what you
talking.
did. Do what you did.
Look to her like, okay, I'm looking at you because you're
Yeah.
the one
I
that's
still
speaking.
don't know why.
Someone will tell you in your ear whether you're supposed to go and she's not.
Okay, and let me just say this, and I know, let me say it first this way. I really appreciate the hustle today. We were trying to cover an election live stuff this morning. Polls didn't open until 8 o'clock. Time bit us, other equipment problems bit us, I understand that. Let me say this though, with those exceptions. Deadlines are there for a reason, folks, and you can't sit back and think, well, I can just take my time on this and everything else will catch up. They're there because you have to be done by this time so that this person can do their part, so that this person can do their part, so that this person can do their part. If that means that you feel like you need to come in a little bit earlier, that's up to you. You'll get better as the semester goes along. But deadlines, deadlines, deadlines. Okay? Let's take them seriously. Is there anything else that anybody needed to add for this meeting?
Any
Otherwise,
questions?
we do it for real next week.
We had that one, Bo problem as well, so remember, if your format says Bo, you have to stick with Bo. You can't just add a SOT somewhere or add a full frame without telling me, because that's all pre-programmed, and you can't just walk in right before your story's airing and say, oh, P.S., I added a full frame.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't work that way. Not because I'm perfectly willing to oblige and add that in, you just got to give me that advance time.
You can negotiate just about anything an hour before air.
Yeah.
But when we're on the air is not the time to be negotiating new stuff.
Why was President Monson's bite so short? Was that an accident or?
We had 2 bites from him. We went bite, VO, then back for a second bite.
Okay. The second one didn't make sense. It was so short, to me at least.
Okay. All right, everybody.
Thank you everyone for your hustle. That was good.
For real
I appreciate
next
all you
week.
did. So,
Yeah.
here we go. We can do
Let's
it.
do it.
Go team.
Okay.
We're done.